I'm going to start my timer.
Don't worry.
As a disclaimer here, I am president of this club. That does not, under any circumstances, guarantee that I am at all a good debater. Keep that in mind. Thank you. All right. So with this, we come to the topic that we are debating, resolve that standardized tests should be abolished and or replaced. Just as a few clarifications for what we're going to talk about, standardized tests, we say, are by definition something that you can prepare for. And we don't feel that this is a stretch because standardized tests can't differ from year to year. I mean, that's why they're standardized. So we're talking about tests that will stay the same and thus you can prepare for. And what we're going to be focusing on are standardized tests that relate to college or job or graduate occupations. If the opposition would like to bring up standardized tests used to evaluate grade schools and high schools, we could debate that too. But for the purpose of narrowing down the topic of this debate, we're going to focus on those. And so moving on to our first point, we have three main points which we'd like to discuss. First is that standardized testing is unreliable. And this point is again brought up by what we said earlier, that standardized tests are something you can prepare for. And you see this every day. I mean, SAT tutors, the amount of money that goes into SAT preparation is extremely large. And the SAT is an aptitude test. It's supposed to measure your aptitude in a subject. And when you bring in this amount of preparation, it doesn't become an aptitude test. But the problem is that companies, and schools and companies both, still treat it as an aptitude test. I mean, you get asked for your SATs on not only college applications, but almost every job application that you're going to fill out, they ask for your SATs. IBM, Accenture, Goldman, they want to know your SATs. And so and that more goes to what we'll talk about later, which is how you replace it, and more important things. But the fact that it's unreliable is again seen with the amount of preparation people put in, and you get scores that do not correlate to ability. Moving on with that point, the SATs have lost their meaning because of this. And you see a lot of schools are already sort of trying to shift their focus away from using SATs. I believe Lehigh itself has said that it is focusing on that. But the fact is that the SATs are becoming less and less reliable in showing how smart a person is, as opposed to they're just showing how much effort they can put into 1 3-hour test. And to this point, we just think that, as the government, that there is way too much emphasis placed on a 3-hour block of time for it to have so much of a meaning in the rest of your life. And we think this is bad for both the students, who have undue amount of pressure placed on them, as well as the companies and universities and companies they will end up going to, which we'll get into later. Moving on to the second point, our second point is that standardized tests discriminate. And they do this mainly on the basis of monetary wealth. And again, this brings up the point again where we're talking about the preparation for SATs. And I mean, the more money you have, the more SAT books you can buy, the more practice tests you can take, the more tutors you can hire. And this, while it's great for people who do have money, it stinks for people who don't, because then, I mean, they're already not as well off as anyone else, and then they have to struggle past this extra barrier to do as well as people who can have private tutors, who can have, 5 books telling you exactly how to take the SAT. And it doesn't accomplish anything when people are still judging these tests on the basis of being an aptitude test. I mean, again, it's not only money, it's where you live, your social status. I mean, it's everything around you determines this. When the most important thing to keep in mind here, as this is a bit of a subpoint, is that the SATs do not correlate to college or success in life. You can look, there are plenty of studies that show that SATs don't correlate to college GPA. That's not just among different schools, it's also just within a single school. Here at Lehigh, your SATs don't correlate to your grade point average. I know plenty of people I have a friend who got a 1540 on his SAT, but he's struggling to keep the 325 that he needs to keep his scholarship. I know people who did not do nearly as well as that on the SAT, but have a 3.9. So, I mean, again, and while those are just two examples, you can see overall that the SATs do not predict success. And this, again, while we're focusing on the SAT, because that's what we are all most familiar with, this still is important for all standardized tests. I mean, all standardized tests sort of follow that same base where you have a test, but it's not reliable. It doesn't provide a solid evidence of how intelligent or how successful someone will be. So finally, moving on here to our third and final point, is that what we, basically, it's sort of our solution, what we offer to be a better way to evaluate people. And that is to basically replace the SAT, or, any standardized test, not just the SAT, but to replace it with an interview and more focused on achievements, what people have actually done. And we as the government believe that this is a much more effective way of showing how successful someone will be at life. Because when you sit down for an interview with someone, you get to know them, you can judge people based on how they interact, how they talk, how they act. I mean, this is what corporations do all the time. While corporations do ask for your SATs, they also provide an interview, and that's where the main focus is. The main focus is on seeing how you can talk, how you can relate to people. And that, honestly, is how a lot of people succeed in the business world, in the political world, in real life. You don't see people who have, 1,600, 2,400 SATs normally sitting at the top of major corporations, because the focus is on how you can relate to other people. But again, more importantly though, again, the problem is that this process, it does not provide a reliable source of information. It unfairly hurts people and unfairly rewards other people. Sometimes there's people with money, sometimes there are people who just get lucky and guess right. I mean, these are things where if we're looking to provide the most just system for everyone, we need to, and this is more of an impact on the overall case, we need to focus on a way that provides everyone the maximum, most just opportunity to succeed. And I think that the government has proven here that standardized testing is not a good way to do this. Again, just to reiterate the points, because it's unreliable, it unfairly discriminates against people on the basis of, money, luck, if I guess right, plenty of stuff. And that you can judge a person much more effectively based on a personalized interview and looking at what the person has actually achieved in life. So for these reasons, we strongly urge an affirmative decision. Thank you.